Hello and welcome to Halftime Report on CNBC-TV18. I'm Sonia Shenoy and with me is Ekta Batra. And, the market is very, very quiet today. Not too much happening. So gives us some time to ponder over individual earnings. And Lupin is definitely the stock of the moment. It posted a better than expected fourth quarter numbers. The revenue growth was solid at 14%. The margins hit a 7-quarter high. Ekta managed to catch up with the CEO Vinita Gupta, the MD Nilesh Gupta and the CFO Ramesh Swaminathan. Began by asking about the quarter gone by and how they see pricing pressures play out. Listen in.
We had set an expectation, or at least guided towards a similar level as the last quarter, Q3, where we were at around 177 million or so. So relatively speaking, we were in line with Q3. With no new material product additions of any sort. I mean, I'd say the minor difference between Q3 and Q4 was some seasonality in Q3 that one sees an impact on for the cephalosporin products as well as on albuterol. So that was majority of the difference one saw between the two quarters. I mean, the baseline, the inline business was fairly stable. I'd say price erosion also was very much in line with our expectations, low single-digit percentage on the base products. And Suprep did extremely well. I mean, it was a very strong contributor to the quarter. We continue to be exclusive with the product, of course, semi-exclusive with the brand authorized generic, but it contributed very nicely towards the US overall revenues as well as Somerset contribution plus margin is given the margin profile of the product.
Nilesh, just wanted to touch upon whether or not there were any kind of one-offs this quarter when it came to the other income. And what really led growth in the other markets this time? Because this quarter's story seems to be about the other markets and not so much about the US. India did well, rest of the world, as well as the growth markets and the API business. So one, were there any one-offs? And two, what led to the growth?
I'll let Ramesh add to the other income, but on the growth. So first of all, I would say that, the US, a few million here or there is basically, it's, the good thing is the US business seems to be stabilized. The product mix is extremely healthy, right? So the quality of the business is very healthy. In the past, we obviously showed up the numbers with authorized generics and the like. And I think we're now looking at products like albuterol. We're looking at products like Suprep. We're looking at, growth in products like simvastatin, cephalexin. So we're seeing the Lupin portfolio doing really well in the US. And I think that as, while the sales may have been marginally down, I think the margin profile has obviously improved, and that has, it's improved in other lines as well, leading to an overall earnings improvement. India, we said this, thankfully we're back to that double-digit growth. We've had a very tepid year last year, right? So first quarter, we basically grew IQVIA-wise 1%, then 6%, 7%, now 11%. We're still trailing the market. The market, if you adjust for diabetes, the market grew by 15.5. We grew at 15.2%. So we're pretty much there at market growth. Our big therapy areas, respiratory, cardiac, are doing well. Diabetes is still a struggle, primarily on count of the loss of exclusivity and the genericization that we've seen in the market. But newer areas like GI, areas like women's health are doing extremely well. Other markets, API business did really well. Again, that business has struggled through the year, and I think we see the bounce back now, and primarily driven by cephalosporin API. So 46% year-on-year growth. So obviously a very significant one. But even the absolute numbers have moved by successively through the quarters to a very nice number. Other markets, I think the Lupin growth story in other markets was always strong. South Africa had a very good run. We've done well, even in Europe, in in Germany or in UK. So I think that story was always intact. I think the stabilization in the US was what we were looking for, the bounce back in India as well. And I think both of those things are now in place.
Ramesh, I'm going to make it a two-part question. One, on the other income, what did it comprise of? And two, the margins, which have in fact improved to 13%. What are you guiding for in the coming quarters?
Right. Okay. Let me talk to you about, in fact, the first question that was relating to other operating income. What you've actually included out there is essentially income coming in because of the PLI schemes. So the government announced schemes. So we accrued that portion, about 59 odd crores, in this particular quarter, and that's where you see that blip coming in. And you would appreciate this is going to be sustainable across the next several quarters, so to speak. To that extent, it should actually add it to the EBITDA income. It also added in some ways. You spoke about, in fact, the other markets. So traditionally, for example, Q4 is always a better quarter, so to speak. As with, in fact, South Africa, there's of course an anticipation of, in fact, the price hike out there, which leads to more stocking. It's traditionally the way it is. Brazil, because of the Paloma, acquisition impact and the like. Australia, Q3 was slightly lower because of Southern Cross supply chain issues and so on. So to that extent, there was a boost in Q4. And of course, as Nilesh mentioned, Foster, launch across various of the markets and
sure. Ramesh, if you could just elaborate a little bit on the margin picture.
Yeah, margins, of course, even whilst we began the year, we talked about the fact that we'd be working on, in fact, a host of initiatives across various lines. And this is, of course, borne fruit. It is not so visible, principally because the way things are actually disclosed. For example, across the gross margins line itself, there is a tremendous improvement when it comes to, in fact, issues around, say, air freighting, returns, and the like. And of course, whilst there's been progress there, it is in some ways camouflaged by, in fact, secular inflation. Inflation has, to the extent, actually eroded on certain gains out there. When you look at, in fact, the manpower, we have held it on a tight leash, so to speak. The overall increase for the year itself is just about 3%. And this after looking at, in fact, workforce planning across several functions, R&D, manufacturing, and the like. There has been progress across, manufacturing.
So what are you going to close FY24 with? Any kind of margin guidance that you can provide us?
As with, in fact, in the past, we believe that successive quarters, there would be improvement coming in and more normalization setting in. And towards perhaps the end of the year, we could be looking upward of 18%.
Okay. All right.
For the year itself, it would be north of 15%, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. For the full year, of course, there would be this would be at the back of, in fact, the momentum along the cost lines, and of course, launching of products like the ones that we speak about in America.
Absolutely. So, Vinita, I'm sure you're anticipating this question. What is the status on Spiriva generic, which is probably going to aid that margin guidance and, the US business probably hitting that $200 million mark? The target action date was expected to be between April and June. This is with or without an inspection. Can you clarify in terms of where things stand?
It was April and August, with and without inspection, with inspection in August and without inspection in April.
Okay.
So we've had a lot of back and forth with the agency, and we believe we are close at this point. I mean, the April date has moved a little bit, but we think at this point, really by June or latest by July, we should be there.
Should you launch by June or July? Is that what you're guiding?
That's what we are working towards.
Okay, so
if we get approval, I think we'll be ready to launch.
Okay, so is there an inspection required?
We haven't been intimated as of yet. We've just been in constant dialogue with the agency on questions that they've had on the applications, which gives us the confidence that we're close.
Okay, and the target action date, can you share that with us?
It's between July and August, based on without inspection, but like I said, we are in close dialogue with the agency in terms of, whatever they need to get the product approved.
All right. Nilesh, what is the compliance status of the plants? Mandi Deep, 16 observations. Tarapur, warning letter. Pithampur, Unit 2, 10 observations. Pune Biotech Facility, 17 observations.
Yeah, so we're not happy with the number of observations. Of course, we shared that last quarter as well. We had 5 plants which were not in a satisfactory state of compliance. 2 of them have moved into a good state of compliance, but 3 of them continue to be not in a satisfactory state. We've done significant remediation on all three sites, Tarapur, Pithampur, and Mandideep Unit 1. And we're close to closing out our remediation actions and then following up with the FDA. And the same way in biotech, we have closed out all the observations. We've shared our final, and again, we would hope for a satisfactory closure there as well. So bunch of stuff done, not at the finish line yet. I think this is going to continue to be a key area in this ongoing fiscal, but I think we're moving in the right direction. We need to accelerate the pace.
Okay, so that's the top management of Lupin indicating that, yes, there should be a margin improvement. They're probably looking at 15% and plus levels in terms of margins for FY24. Not to mention that the big next trigger would definitely be the drug, the Spiriva generic inhaler. And that is anticipated to probably launch in June, July, between those months. Let's see what takes place, considering that there is a dialogue with the US FDA, which is on. There is a back and forth which is taking place at this point in time. They will be ready to launch as per the company as and when they do get approval. So that's the update coming in on Lupin. Let's see whether that sort of margin improvement sustains for the next couple of quarters. The stock up around 0.3%.